Okay, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning as we are studying together Perashat Tazria. And of course, our Perashat deals with the affliction called Tzara'at, leprosy, which was a skin condition. It was something that appeared on the skin, a discoloration that appeared either on a person's skin or on a person's clothing or on a person's house. But of course, we know that this was not a physical symptom. This was actually revealing something spiritual that this person did wrong, that Hashem is trying to talk to this person, trying to relay a message, that this person should improve their ways. And hopefully this will be a wake-up call that the person should improve in whatever specific area the person needed to improve in. What I'd like to talk about today actually is not the Perashah, but I would like to speak about the Haftarah, because the Haftarah, we know that after we read the regular Perashah, we read a piece from the prophets that deals with a similar a topic that's related and similar to the Perashah. Now, actually this year, we're not going to read the Haftarah that we're going to study right now. This year, our Haftarah will deal, because it's going to be Hashabbat HaChodesh, it's going to deal with a different Haftarah that deals with Rosh Chodesh, or actually HaChodesh, which is the new year, because we're entering a new year this Shabbat. Okay, everybody, by the way, FYI, very important Shabbat. This Shabbat, all Shabbats are important, but this Shabbat we're going to have 3 Sifrei Torah, okay? 3 new Sefer Torah, 3 Sefer Torahs. Why? 1 for the regular Perashah reading, 1 for Rosh Chodesh, and 1 because it's HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodashim, it's the new year. We know that Nisan is the new year, so Happy New Year's, everybody. I know we also have Tishrei as the new year. As Jews, we like to have 2 New Years, just in case we sinned. We like to feel like we could always have a new start, new beginning, right? We're very optimistic like that. But either way, it's a Rosh Chodesh, it's a new month, and it's a new year. Lot of happy things going on this Shabbat. So the Haftarah that we're going to read deals with the new year. However, I would like to discuss today in today's class, in this morning's class, the Haftarah that we should have read if it wasn't the same Shabbat as the New Year. And that is the famous episode that happened to a non-Jew that actually was afflicted with leprosy. Because again, in our Parashah, we read about leprosy that comes upon Jews. But we have a Haftarah, so if you want to follow us along, it's going to be in the book of Kings, chapter 4. Okay, Kings 2, actually the book of Kings was divided into 2, so there's Kings 1 and Kings 2. So open up to Kings 2, chapter 5, okay? Chapter 5 begins about a general, a non-Jewish general. His name was, very good, T-E-A, Naaman. Says the Pasuk, Naaman was Sar Tzeva Melech Aram. He was the general of the army of the king of Aram. Haya Ish Gadol. He was a very prestigious person, very successful general, and he was fighting and conquering right and left. However, the pasuk ends off with one word. Ha'ish haya gibor ha'il. He was very a great warrior. However, metzora. He was a leper. Okay, so here's this general. Everything's good. There's only one flaw, one problem. He's a leper. And Aram used to go out and they would conquer and they would capture. And one time the Pasuk says they captured a young girl from the land of Israel. And she was Naaman's servant. Okay, so she served Naaman's wife. Okay, so far so good. So you have a guy, his name is Naaman. He's a very successful general. They capture a Jewish girl who is now their servant. I mean, obviously it's not a good thing. Okay. Then, one day, Vatomer el Gevirta, she tells her mistress, Ahale Adoni lifnei hanavi asher b'Shomron. She says to her mistress, let master go to the prophet in Shomron, in Samaria, and he will heal him from his tzara'at. Okay? Let him go. If this leprosy is obviously affecting him physically, emotionally. Let him go to the Navi, and he will heal him. Okay? Who was the Navi, by the way, at the time? Who was the prophet at the time? This was Elisha. Very good, Lina. Elisha HaNavi, the student of the famous Eliyahu Hanavi. Okay, so Eliyahu Hanavi, student Elisha, very, very big Navi. So again, let's recap the story. The Jewish girl says to her mistress, why not let your husband, the general Naaman, go to the Navi and he'll cure him from his leprosy? Okay? So, so the general has to go ask the king for the right to leave. He goes and he asks this non-Jewish king. The king of Aram says, go, and of course, I will even send with you a letter. He goes and he brings now a gift to the Jewish king, 10 loaves of bread. He took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 gold coins and 10 changes of clothing. He brings him a nice offering to appease the Jewish king, hoping that now the prophet will pray and heal this general. He brings the letter to the Jewish king, and as the Jewish king gets it, and he reads that says to please cure the servant from tzara'at, from leprosy. As the Jewish king reads it, vayikra begadav, he rips his clothing. The king, the Jewish king, does keri'ah. Vayomer, he says, am I God that I can cure people from leprosy? And he starts bugging out. He realizes that this is his end. If he cannot cure him, he realizes he's got to cure him or else he's going to get killed. And he doesn't know how to do it. He's not a miracle man. It doesn't dawn, by the way, on the king to maybe ask the Navi for help. Okay, just again shows you another unfortunate level of the tension that existed at the time between the king and the prophet. Well, Elisha finds out that the king did kriyah, he ripped his clothing. So he sends a letter to the Jewish king, and he says, why did you rip your clothing? Let him come to me. I am a prophet. I can help him out. So Naaman comes with his horse and his chariot to the entrance of the house of Elisha. And he's expecting, because he's a big man, he's a general, Elisha should come and greet him. Elisha doesn't come to greet him. Elisha sends him a messenger, which is actually a sign of disgrace for the general. Imagine you're the president of the United States, and you go to Israel, and instead of the prime minister coming out to greet you, he sends one of his secretaries. Right? What are you doing? He sent me what disrespect. Come and say hello yourself. Elisha doesn't go out to greet him. He sends the messenger, and he sends, I don't know, he was busy learning, I don't know why he didn't go himself, but he sends him a messenger, and he says to him through the messenger, Haloch, go, v'rachatzta sheva pe'amim b'Yarden. Go and bathe in the Jordan River 7 times, v'yashov b'sarcha lecha utar, and you will be purified. So, very simple. All you got to do is go and dip. What do you think Naaman does? What is the general's response to this? Good news. You have leprosy. Go and bathe 7 times and you'll be cured. The Pasuk tells us, Vayiksov Naaman. Pasuk 11. Naaman was very upset. He was angry. And he leaves. How dare this guy, first of all, not come out to greet me? And secondly, Vayomer, he says, Hine amarti elai yetze yatzov ve'amadu kara b'shem Adonai Elohav v'niv yado l'makom ve'asaf mitzorah. I thought he's going to come out and do some hocus pocus and wave his wand, and then I'm going to be cured. And he's telling me to go dip in a river. Halo tov amana uparpar naharot mesek. We have in Aram, where's Aram? Aram is Damascus, right? We have in Damascus much nicer rivers than the Jordan River. Much nicer than any river in the land of Israel. He's telling me to go dip in a lake. Go jump. Maybe this is where it came from, by the way. Go jump in a lake. Who knows? By the way, it's dawning on me now. Maybe this is the source of go jump in a lake. He tells him, go dip in a river. And he thinks he's telling him, go jump in a lake. What do you, I don't have rivers where I come from in Damascus. I need your rivers over here in Jordan. So he took it as a sign of disrespect. He starts leaving. He's going back home. which is bad because it's also gonna, who knows what it's gonna stir. It could be a trigger of a war. However, Vayikshu avadav vaydaberu elav. Then his servants come to him and they say, Avi, davar gadol, hanavi diber elecha. Master, the Navi said big stuff over here. Listen to him. Afki amar elecha rehat. Even though he said something silly to dip in a river, and you have rivers back home, listen to him. Trust us, the prophet knows what he's talking about. Well, he listened to his advisors. Vayered, he went down. Vayitbol bayarden, he went into the Jordan River. Sheva pe'amim, 7 times. Kidvar ish Elohim, the way the Navi commanded him. Vayashov besaro kibsar na'ar katon vayitar. And what happened? What was the result? Happy ending. His skin became like the skin of a newborn baby. Okay? Nice and fresh and clean and smooth. Anyone ever saw a newborn, beautiful skin, right? This, sometimes as you get older, your skin becomes very coarse and rough. Okay? His skin became like the skin of a baby. So this is the story. And let's just finish the story, okay? Because it's actually even nicer ending. Now this general is so inspired. He comes back, Vayashov Elisha Elohim, he comes back to the prophet. Vayamod lefanav, and he says to him, Hinei yadati ki en Elohim bechol haaretz ki im beis Israel. I know and I recognize that the true God exists only amongst you Jews. You Jews have the real address. And now I am going to accept God as my God. So this general, who a minute ago was the general of Aram, he now vows to accept monotheism and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayomer, and he says, Hi Hashem, I swear to God. Right? He says, please, please take my gift. I'd like to pay you. If I could just give you a nice donation to the synagogue. Vayomer, Navi says back, I'm not taking anything. But he insists, and he insists, and he insists, and he insists. And who wins at the end? You know, it reminds me of when people come over for lunch, and you play this game, Tfaddal, please come, no, please come, right? In Persian, they call it Taraf, right? And we have, please come in, please eat, no, I'm okay, no, right? It's this game, you play ping pong, usually until one guy, okay, I'll come in, right? So they're going back and forth, come in, no, I'm good, please take my money, no, really, no, you, no, you, no, you. And the Navi shows he's not giving in. By my end, he's not taking it. Done. Closed deal. End of story. Okay. Vayomer Naaman, v'lo yutan na le'avdecha masat tzere beradim adama, ki lo ya'aseh od avdecha olav ezev Elohim mahanim ki v'lo. Okay. Naaman said, I accept now Hashem, I will never go again to accept to God korbanot. He asks though, I have one problem. I have once a year, once in a while, when the king goes to worship his idols, Bet Rimon, he takes me with him. And I have to go to bow with him. Is this allowed? He says, yes, you're just doing it outwardly. Inside, you're not really bowing to this avodah zarah, and go. It's okay. And by the way, there's a very interesting Gemara that tries to prove from here that although a Jew must die in order not to commit idolatry, a goy is not obligated in this commandment. A non-Jew is allowed to, look, you see over here, the Navi says, no problem, bow. You don't have to die in order not to worship idols. Okay? Anyways, the Gemara has, maybe it is a proof, maybe it isn't a proof. But this is the end of the story. Actually, it's not the end of the story continues. The Haftarah ends here. The portion that we read on the Sabbath ends here. But the story continues that after he leaves, there was a fellow, his name was Gehazi. Gehazi was Elisha's attendant. He was Elisha's shamosh. He was the helper. And he had money. When it came to money, Gehazi had ta'ava. He had a desire for money like no other. And when this general is offering a lot of money, you see this a lot of times when great people come to rabbis to get a bracha. and the rabbi gives a bracha, and the fellow gives a check. The rabbi don't care for the check. The rabbi doesn't need the check. He's not using the money. But what happens is, a lot of times, the people around the rabbi's a saint. Unfortunately, the people around him aren't always. And they sometimes take advantage of the rabbi and his blessings, and they try to monetize it. They try to take money from people. They force you want a bracha, you have to pay, you have to give a donation. We have to be very careful not to confuse the people around the rabbi with the rabbi himself. The rabbi's motivations are pure. The rabbi is not hungry for the money. Sometimes it's the people around that have a monopoly, and they try, again, to take advantage of the rabbi. So Gehazi over here does this. Gehazi goes to the general after the general leaves, and he runs after him, and he says to the general, "Oh, one second. My master told me to come and get the gifts from you after all." Now this is unfortunate. This is a big blown opportunity of making a huge Kiddush Hashem, because once you take money, it cheapens the deed that you did. I'm sure we all know that. I was, many times I did a kind act. I'll give you an example. I once found a guy's wallet on the street. Guy's wallet with credit cards and his ID and everything. And I went through the white pages. I found his number. Guy lived in Staten Island. Okay, somehow he picking up his wife, and he dropped the wallet. And I called him up. I said, I found your wallet. Could you prove it's yours? He said, please, yes, it's this card and that card. Yes, it's yours, okay. I said, I live nearby. When you're in the area, call me. He was there in the next 45 minutes. And we exchanged, and he pulled out $50, $100, I don't remember what it was. He said, please let me pay you for you're so kind, for your time. And, the $50 would have helped, especially back when the story happened. I was in Kolel, and I was losing money at the time. My expenses were more than how much I was getting paid. The monthly stipend to the learners every month. So $50 was nice at the time. But I realized, sometimes the Kiddush Hashem is greater. When you take money, it cheapens a little bit. So Gehazi, unfortunately, anyways, I didn't take the money from the guy. And he was very impressed. He ended up converting to Judaism. No, I'm kidding. The story doesn't end like that. Okay? It would have been nice if he converted, right? But either way, I think it's a nice story. I don't know. Maybe today he's a Jew lover somewhere. I don't know the happy ending to the story. But I didn't get the money at the end. So Hashem paid me in many other ways beautifully for my deed. I have no doubts. But anyway, going back to Gehazi over here doesn't take this advice. He goes and he's hungry for money. He goes out and he says to the general, listen, my master actually, Elisha, wants the money. He asked me to come and get the clothing from you. The general says, of course, please, without a question. And he hands him all of the money and the clothing and everything. And Gehazi runs home. And he hides them quickly in his house, because he knows he can't go back into his master's home with the money, because he's going to find out. So he quickly goes home, he hides it. But of course, you can't trick a Navi. As he walks into his house, into the Navi's home, the Navi says, why'd you go and take the money, Gehazi? And Gehazi's like, hamana, right? He realizes he's caught red-handed. And he is cursed. He says, the tzarat of Naaman will cling to you and your family forever and ever and ever. And unfortunately, this was Gehazi's fate. He became a leper. And next week's Haftarah is about Arba'a Anashim, 4 people that had leprosy. And according to our rabbis, these 4 people were Gehazi and his kids in the aftermath of this story. Okay, in the aftermath of this story. Either way, there is, I think, many lessons. I think it's a nice story that we can really technically stop here and really just end the class. But just, when we learn Navi, Hacham Ovadiah one time, my Rabbi Nathan Eskava was at Hacham Ovadiah's house once for Seudah Shalishit. And he told me the whole time Rabbi Ovadia was very quiet. But he did tell him one thing. He turned to Rabbi Nathan and he asked him actually, he says, do you learn Navi? And Rabbi Nathan responded, yeah, I try to learn Navi. He says, very good to learn Navi. You can learn a lot of musar, a lot of lessons from Navi. Okay, so I think today we'll try to pick out just maybe 1 or even 2 lessons if we have the time for it. What lessons do we find in this story? There are many. Please feel free to write them on the side. But our rabbis tell us one lesson over here. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, Hakina ha'ta'ava ve'hakavod motzi'im et ha'adam min ha'olam. Jealousy, temptation, desire, and kavod, honor, remove a person from this world. 3 things that can remove a person from their world: jealousy, temptation, and honor. Of course, our rabbis are not only talking about the next world. Of course, the next world, a person that's always seeking honor, a person that's jealous, and a person that's lustful is going to lose their portion in the next world. But our rabbis tell us that these 3 negative qualities, again, jealousy and lust, and lust is not only immorality. It could be lust for immorality, it could be lust for money, for food, but for whatever that lust is, the temptation we could maybe call it. So jealousy, temptation, and honor. They not only remove a person from Olam Haba, they remove a person even from Olam Hazeh. We've spoken in the past how when a person is jealous, jealousy destroys our happiness in this world, in this lifetime. When I'm jealous of somebody else and I'm upset that they're doing so well and I'm not, we have to realize that our jealousy is only hurting ourselves. Our jealousy does not affect them. They are fine. They are doing okay. Our jealousy is destroying our lives. It's ruining our happiness. It's taking away us from realizing the brachot that we have in our lives. Jealousy is hurting only me, and in this world, jealousy hurts me. A person that has constant temptation and they live in this illusion that they can do whatever they want and it's not going to affect them. And of course, it's completely false. We see it today. People that are, especially now, when with the inflation going on and people realizing that they're not going to be able to really buy anything and everything that they wanted to, in this generation of entitlement, as they call it, where kids grew up thinking they could get anything and everything that they wanted, and all of a sudden they're going to realize very quickly, very fast, the way our, at least over here in America, our economy is going, that all of a sudden we're going to have to be putting the pause on, and all of a sudden things that we want to buy, we're going to have to think 5 times before we purchase it. Prices going up like crazy. Person that has temptation for money, temptation for women, thinking it's not going to ruin their marriage and they could get away by being, by having this double life. Or people that think that they could do drugs and it's not going to affect their performance at work. It's all nonsense, right? Temptation ruins our lives in this life, here in this world, not in the next world, down here in this world. And of course, kavod, honor, destroys a person's chances of success. Take a look at our haftarah, and we find that Naaman, says Rav Leib Chasman, Naaman Tsar Tzeva Melech Aram, teaches us how dangerous a person who seeks for kavod, the danger of seeking honor really is. You have, after all, a person, Naaman, a general who is a leper. He has leprosy. And our rabbis tell us, a metzora hashuv kemet. He's considered dead. There's not a life to have leprosy. And you see it. He's willing to take a leave of absence, asking his king if he could go to the Jews to get cured. This is how messed up his life is. This is how much of a toll it's taken on his life, that he needs to go to the Jewish Navi to get cured. And the king says, go and take him gifts, even though they're the enemy a little bit. But go, no problem. You need to get cured. This is a big problem. When there's something this bad, we don't care who you have to go. You have to go to the Jews, go to the Jews. And he has an opportunity to get cured from his sickness. But what happens? The Navi doesn't come out to greet him. The Navi instead sends his messenger. And what happens to this general? He's riding literally besuso. He's on his high horse. And he says, he sends me a messenger? And not only does he send me a messenger, but he wants me to go dip in a river? Who does this guy think he is? I have much better rivers where I come from. And how dare you not come out to greet me? uh-oh, this is over. You're out of here, buddy. See you later. And he turns around and starts heading home. I thought you were going to come out to greet me. And what happens is Naaman starts turning around and he's forfeiting an opportunity to get pured and cleansed from his sickness. He could get clean, just go in the river. But what gets in the way? And this is again one of the three things. His kavod, his ego. The ego of Naaman gets in the way. And it was so simple to everyone else that was there. Go in the river. But when a person has an ego, when a person has their a big ego and the honor that's blinding them, a person gives up on so many other opportunities. How many times people that are fighting, brothers and sisters and family members, and all you need to do is apologize. It's one word, sorry. But we can't say it. We can't say sorry because sorry means to humble myself. Sorry means to put aside my ego a little bit to make way for somebody else. And a person sometimes is willing to let their entire lives go down to destroy themselves and their family and their relationships and their career. Just not to have to say sorry. Just not to have to be submissive to somebody else. Not to yield to other people that we have in our lives around us. That is the danger of arrogance. That is the danger of honor. That is the danger of a person that has an ego and doesn't work on that ego. Of course, we have to have a strong self-esteem and a sense of self, but that has nothing to do with arrogance. When a person is arrogant and doesn't work on that arrogance, then that can destroy not their olam haba, my friends. That can destroy their olam hazeh, and we see it. How pathetic when you see two people fighting and all it is an apology. And people call me Rabbi, I don't understand. It's just a phone call. And they can't do it. And to us, they're like the biggest fools. They're clowns. And it's true, right? They're clowns. But they don't see it like that. If you speak to them, they should burn. I'll go to the grave. I'll never apologize to them. I'll die before. That's when a person doesn't work on their character. When a person has ego, and the ego blinds, they don't see things straight. Everyone around them, it's the simplest answer. Just apologize, you get your job back, the person will go out with you again, you'll get married, you get back to your marriage, your relationship will all improve. But a person, when there's ego, when there's arrogance in the way, I'll go to the grave. I will not yield to someone else. I will not apologize. I will not give in. That's what happens when a person has bad midot. When a person has kavod, that's in the way of getting them, that's in between them. Our rabbis say, kin'ah, ta'ava, kavod, jealousy, temptations, and ego destroy a person's life in this lifetime. In this world, we have to realize that it's in this world. You know, there's a story in the Navi, right in the beginning, Yehoshua. And again, how important it is to study the prophets. Yehoshua was the leader after Moses. Remember when Moses dies? Who was the leader after Moses? Yehoshua. He was a student. Yehoshua is the one that actually takes the Jews into the land of Israel. And as they go in, they conquer the first city. What was the first city they conquered? Jericho. Jericho. Okay? And it's actually a very miraculous victory. Hashem really fought that one for us. We didn't do anything. All we did was we walked around each day one time, and on the seventh day we walk around 7 times. Kind of like what the bride does on the day of the wedding, right? On the wedding night. She walks by the Ashkenazim, she walks around. I'm not sure what the symbolism is, if she's trying to hint to, you're going down, right? But either way, she goes around like in Jericho. And Yehoshua says, he makes a vow. Nobody can rebuild this city. And the first person who rebuilds it will bury his oldest son with its foundation bricks, and he'll bury his last son with the hinges of the door. Now you say, wow, okay, you don't want to mess. And sure enough, we know many years later, there was somebody, unfortunately, who did rebuild Jericho. And as he puts the first foundational brick, he loses his first son. And he keeps building, and he loses one after the next, and I believe it's 10 children that this man buried 10 sons as he puts on the hinges of the door. And you say, and I say, and we all say, how out of his mind does this guy have to be? You lost your first son. Isn't it time to wake up and smell the coffee? Don't you realize that Yehoshua's ban over here is in play? Isn't it time for you to say, all right, I'm done? All right, maybe one's a mistake. People die. 2 sons. 3 sons. 5 sons. 10 sons. You don't learn your lesson. Are you out of your mind? Says Rav Chaim Shmulevitz. That's what happens when a person has an ego. You'll be willing to bury 10 children. Not to say sorry. Not to have to yield to someone else. We're willing to go down and take ourselves down and our families down, just not to say I was wrong. Look at Paro. Paro, what a maniac. What does he do to his country? What does Paro, look at the current events with Russia. What are you doing to your country? But to admit midway, look at America and Vietnam. And we went and we doubled down. But that's the dangers of when a person has an ego. When a country has an ego, they'll take down hundreds and thousands of innocent soldiers and peoples and civilians just not to admit we made a bad decision. And many times when we go into something, we will double down and triple down and do whatever we have to just to not to have to admit that our initial thought, our first decision was a mistake. Right? This is, again, all part of kavod. It's all part of the ego. How many people destroy their lives with their ego? And this is really, here we see it with Naaman. He is walking away from a chance of being pure and cleansed from his leprosy. For what? Because the Navi didn't come out to greet you? Swallow your pride, man. Swallow your pride for 5 minutes. Go dip in the lake and go home clean. He won't do it. Until they push him and they have to wake him up. Wake up, man. Can't you see it? But this is the dangers of when we don't work on our character, my friends. And it's not only him. It's Naaman. It's the fellow who rebuilds Yericho. And we see it even with another character, another example, Yerovam ben Nevat. Who is Yerovam? Yerovam, the Gemara says, is one of the 4 people that they don't have a portion in the world to come. Yerovam was the first king who created a civil war in the Jewish people when the kingdom split into 2. Remember, Shlomo HaMelech died, his son Rehovam becomes the king. And in his lifetime, Rehovam made a bad move politically. He charged too much in taxes, okay? And the kingdom split in half. 2 tribes went with him, the other 10 went with Yerovam ben Nevat. And they moved to the north, and that's how you have a split in the land of Israel, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And this was a civil war, and this split lasted until the exile through Nebuchadnezzar, unfortunately. And that's it. We never had one kingdom again. Okay, and this split happened, and one of the guys that started it was Yerovam ben Nevat. And what this guy did was pure heresy and literally avodah zarah. He would put statues in the north, and he would say to them, "This is the new temple. Come and bow here. Come and worship here." Ele Elohecha Yisrael, literally the words of the avodah of the Chet HaEgel, of the golden calf. This is your God. No more to the south. No more to Jerusalem. This is the new Jerusalem. Samaria, Shomron. And by the way, this is where Naaman, the general, goes to. He goes to Samaria. Remember in the beginning of the story that we read this morning? He goes to Shomron. Why Shomron? That was the capital of the northern kingdom. That was the new Jerusalem. And Yerovam is what our rabbis call Mahdi Arabim. He causes the public to sin. En lo chelek le'olam haba. No portion in the world to come. However, our rabbis come and say, Hashem came to Yerovam and he gave him a chance to say sorry. He gave him one chance and he says, Yerovam, all you got to do is do tshuva. Me, you, will go on a private tour. Me, you, and even King David himself. around Paradise Island. What do you say, Yerovam? And Yerovam says, I'm all in. I'm ready to say sorry. I'm ready to do tshuva. Me, you, and King David. One question, God. Who's sitting shotgun? I kid you not, that's what he asked. Mi barosh. Who's sitting shotgun? And God says, David's in front. And Yerovam says, no thank you. And he forfeits again an opportunity of a lifetime. And we say, what a fool, what a clown, what a silly mistake. But how many of us make that mistake? Where we can really just swallow a little bit of our ego, of our pride, and we'll have a chance to ride with our spouse. We can have a great marriage again. We can have a great relationship with our siblings. All it takes is a sorry. No, thank you. Not going to apologize. They have to come to me. And we let ego ruin our chances of having a beautiful life. Our rabbis say, Kavod motzi'im et ha'adam min ha'olam. Honor destroys a person, not in the next world. Destroys a person in this world. Ta'ava, temptation, destroys a person, not in the next world. Destroys. Look at Gehazi. Look at the attendee. Look what happens to him. He sees a few pieces of suit, new clothing. He wants them, and he can't even control himself. He runs after it. He goes and he tells the general, 1 second, the Navi changed his mind. He lies. And who are you lying to? You think you're going to hide it from a prophet? You know? In the yeshiva, we used to have a rabbi. I don't know if he could or not, but he used to. He used to know what kids did the night before. We would go in, and this rabbi, he would say, how was this place last night? Places that we weren't allowed to go to in yeshiva in Israel. There's certain places that are banned. You can't go to this bar, you can't go to that club. It's not appropriate for a boy who's going to shtay to learn Torah all day. You shouldn't be in certain places. And sometimes, kids, we would walk into class the next day. He says, how was this bar? Right? So sometimes kids would walk into class like this. So you can't read their foreheads. Hey, Rabbi, how you doing? And he would say, if I could read your forehead, you don't think I could see through your kippah also? Right? Obviously he was joking, but what are you hiding from? You're hiding from a Navi? You think you could dodge the prophet? You're hiding your clothing in your house? You don't think he knows what you're doing? Right? But this is when a person's temptation, ta'ava, gets to him, and what happens? He becomes a leper and his children, and it's never going to leave you or your descendants forever and ever and ever. Just for a little bit of money. People will destroy their lives for a few dollars. How many times do we know that we're in a certain relationship that's cancerous, that's poisonous, but there's financial benefit in this relationship, and so we can't stop, can't put it down because of the money that's involved. Right? That's ta'ava. Kavod. Honor. So I think this is a very, very, very powerful lesson. Be'ezrat Hashem should help us all to be able to work on our humility, to work on our arrogance, to work on our ego, to have a strong sense of self, but at the same time, not to let our arrogance and our pride and our ego get in the way of our own success. Ultimately, we ruin our own selves. When Hashem wants us to have good character, it's not because good character is going to bring you a reward in the next world. Good character will give us a better life in this world. When we know how to be yielding, when we know how to be forgiving, when we know how to let things go, when we know how to swallow our pride, ultimately we are the greatest beneficiaries. Hashem should help us all to learn this amazing lesson of humility. We'll stop over here, everyone. Have a wonderful day. God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.